And they're just being like pests, or there's these guys who are just trying to pick up every week, just trying to pick up European chicks. Like it's a circus. And then you can see guys who it's easy to tell in futures guys who are going to push on from futures. You can just tell. That's what my uncles always told me. They're like, avoid the tourists. They're obvious. Like you're going to see all these guys who are just tourists. They're here. If they make a semi, they're stoked. Like you shouldn't be like that. And I was pretty aware of that early. And I was like, yeah, I can see the tourists, the guys who are just there for some fun stories. And then the guys who like have their head down and they're just like, they go on the stringer, they're getting the re-strings done. They're training, they're leaving, they're doing their band stuff. Like they're in the gym. You can just tell the guys who are going to push on.
Welcome to another episode of Going Pro, and I have Thomas Fancutt with me today, who I've just met recently in the last week here in Adelaide. You're down for a tournament. There's been one 10K men's kind of like, I guess, like an Australian money tournament in the old language.
Yep.
And then another back-to-back one this week. And yeah, that's been played at the Drive under the new stadium court and the sunken court and the venue there, which has been pretty nice and just good for the state because it needs to get used. Otherwise, just literally just collecting dust.
Yeah, it's an unreal facility.
Yeah. It's actually really sick, and it's good to have players like yourself come on down. So I'm just going to give our listeners a little bit of a insight into who Tom Fancutt is, if you haven't already heard of him. So currently your ATP professional ranking is at 384, and you come from a really big tennis family. So your grandfather, Trevor Fancutt, he was from South Africa, right?
Yep, South Africa.
Yeah, and he played in Wimbledon, and he was on centre court playing against, was it?
Lou Hode.
Yeah, Lou Hode. I saw the photo of that. It was incredible. And then he married Daphne Sini, is that right?
Yep, Daphne Sini.
And so she was an Australian, and then they ended up moving together and living in Brisbane, right? Or just outside of Brisbane?
No, settled down right in the centre of Brisbane.
Right in the centre of Brisbane. And they built Fancutt Tennis Centre on their own land. It was a big land. It was a big property, right?
Yeah, big property.
And with their blood, sweat and tears, they literally spent their time building a massive tennis academy and facility that was in operation for 54 years, which is incredible. And that only just got sold in 2015. And that was, made way for a retirement village that was built, right?
It was sold to a retirement village, which in the end, they've like shelved the project.
Oh, wow.
So it's just it's sitting there abandoned.
It's just sitting, okay.
Yeah.
So what's the go with that? What's happening with that project? Is there any movement to get it back into a tennis space at all? Or?
No. So the company that bought it, I think they just didn't sell enough. So they're holding the land and just waiting.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, which is pretty wild.
Pretty wild. Okay. Wow. My comments on watching you play this tournament, clear standout. We don't usually get guys at AMT level playing at your level, at your ranking, and it just looks like you're clearly a class above everyone else. The way you're moving looks like you got so much time on the ball. You're playing decent players for their age group and just for their own level, and you're making them look silly with just how solid and deep you're hitting the ball. Like, it's very obvious that you're able just to stay so strong. You're put in a vulnerable position, and then you're keeping that ball deep 5, 6, 7 balls in a row. And it's just so hard to get a player at your level off balance. So, it's been awesome to see you and some of the other good guys from interstate down playing. And I think it's just pushed everyone here to get better because we just don't have access to these guys. So, it's been really awesome. But where I want to start today is I want to tap into the family dynamic. I really want to tap into what it was like in your upbringing with your 2 grandparents, and then I think like your parents or maybe even your uncles, they played at a professional level too.
Yes, yeah. So my grandparents had 3 sons.
Yep.
So my dad and 2 uncles, and those 3 boys all played Wimbledon, and they were all on the tour.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so can you paint a picture of what it was like for your upbringing in such a big tennis family like that? Were you at the Fancutt Tennis Centre training all the time, and how did that look like when you were growing up? Yeah,
so I had a pretty unique childhood for sure. So the Fancutt Tennis Centre is where my grandparents lived, and also my dad and 2 uncles had houses that joined the center. So it's just a big complex, and had the 3 tennis courts. And yeah, so I saw my family all the time. I grew up there, and for most of my life, Fancutt's had a live-in program for guys who wanted to go pro, who were pro, who wanted to go to college, and they got coached by my Uncle Charlie.
Okay, wow, that's really, really cool. So I feel like a lot of academies and a lot of people are striving to have some sort of base where you can live and train. So was that almost like the first of its time?
I'm not sure, because I mean, my dad, he went to Bollettieri's. He was there for 2 years. So I think, I mean, the boys, they all came off the tour, and they wanted to coach, and like, they were just fresh from the tour, so they had all these ideas on how they wanted to play and how they could coach these, maybe the next gen. So like they kind of base it off that Bollettieri's type system. There was, I remember, crazy everything about it again, but Margaret used to live in. She was the like house manager. Yeah. And so the live-ins who came, and like there was like a 5-bedroom house. My grandparents had a bedroom, which was out of bounds. Margaret had a bedroom, and then there was
in the Great Margaret Court.
No. No, her name was Margaret Maloney or something. Okay. Basically one of my my second mum, basically. Yeah, sure. So I lived in the house. So she was in charge of meals and all that, and making sure everyone studied if they were at school, and just being clean and whatnot. Just
mother hen.
Yeah, big mother hen.
Wow, you need that. Yeah.
So I grew up in that house, and it was just guys from all walks of life, really. Guys from Hong Kong. There was Miles from England. There was Mikey from Solomon Islands. Like it was a crazy house to grow up in.
Wow. Okay. So do you have some early memories or things that you look back on from that time that really, I guess, give our listeners a snapshot of what it was like, and I guess what the training was like and how it impacted you growing up?
For me, like everyone, I played tennis in my family. Yeah. So I was always around my family. Like it was just tennis mad, but I loved it. So for me, I was like a fish in water, and all these live-in guys I looked up to, I thought they were like the coolest guys ever. They had pro rankings, and they were training, and I think I was about 12, and they were like, 21, 20, and they had rankings. I just thought they were the coolest thing ever. And like, I wanted to be so much like them. So getting it, like, obviously I got beaten up all the time in training by these guys, because I was 12 years old, 13 years old, but I was just so hungry to compete against them. So the training environment, it was all friendly, but it was just so competitive at the same time. So like training in the morning from 6 to 8. And then like, if you went to school, you went to school, and then came back in the afternoon, and we'd train till like 10:30 at night.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it pumping? Like what year are we talking about here?
That would be like 2007. Okay. That's when I was like 12.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was like obviously towards the end. Do you have some memories even younger, when you were like 6? Were you just kind of hanging around as a young kid and just kind of watching what was going on?
No, I wasn't really like in the squads or anything, but I was just getting private lessons with my grandmother and my granddad. And I was pretty spoiled, like spoiled for choice. Like I had my uncles, I had my dad, or I had my grandparents. It's like if anyone had a spare hour, like I was always so keen to train.
What environment. Did you get stories from your grandparents around what it was like even before you were born? Did they tell you stories about what was going on, who was training there, what was happening?
They always flash the photos. My granddad was crazy with photo albums. Yeah. So Rod Laver was always over. Had like Lou Hode came over. Ivan Lendor was good friends with my Uncle Charlie, so he was there training and whatnot at Fancutt's courts. You had members of like Parliament, celebrities. Dolly Parton was there one time. Like just all these photos. I'm looking back, and it's like all in black and white images. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, growing up in that would have been something else. Did it affect you in different ways? Did it really inspire you? Was there negative effects of that? Were there both sides?
So like growing up in that household?
Yeah.
It was super inspiring. But then also like it was a lot of pressure for sure. I was like the next gen Fancutt growing up in that environment. So like, you know, all my results were looked at and everything, which definitely was, there was a time where it was super tough.
Yeah.
Having to deal with that kind of pressure.
When was that period?
When I was like, up until I was like 14, like I was so fearless. Like I didn't think at all about anything. I was just like, I want to play tennis. I want to compete any chance. I say when I kind of hit like maybe 15, 16, it started like, maybe I had like an idea of what results meant, even though they meant nothing. But like at the time I was so focused that, you know, these results actually meant something. Losing to people was like a massive deal. So I think I had a lot of times where I would actually like, I'd pull out of matches to not lose, just to save face. Like it meant anything at that age.
Yeah. I mean, that's become so much more common now, especially with the UTR system that's come in. People are trying to protect their rating and not play this player because it's going to affect their rating and all of that jazz.
It does encourage that.
Yeah. How did you navigate that? Like what helped you move past that point? Was that like over a couple year period, or what changed for you to help you kind of, I guess, get over that hurdle?
I'd say just being like regularly on the pro tour, probably like 19, 20 years old. I started realizing that it wasn't that big of a deal. And like, I'm my own guy. I'm not like the whatever Fancutt, like I'm my own guy having a crack. So I'd say I kind of matured around then, and then just kind of staying on the tour, just matured a bit more. Just
like letting go of that pressure and expectation of the name and just playing tennis for you and for no one else really.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. We had in a previous guest talk about just not caring so much about the result because the pros don't seem to care that much. Like there was an example that Rublev played the 2 Adelaide pro tournaments here, the 250s, and then he lost first round in both, and then goes on to make the quarterfinal of the Australian Open.
Yeah, exactly.
And win a huge match against, I think, Rune in the round of 16, I reckon it was.
Oh, that match was nuts.
Yeah, crazy. But it can change so quickly, and the quicker you can just move forward and I guess like fall forward after losses.
For sure.
Is a big, I guess, way to, I guess, overcome that hurdle. This is just a quick note on our podcast sponsor. This podcast would not be possible without the support from 4RT. They are a creative house that helps businesses with their advertising, marketing, and content needs. If your business has a story to tell, then these guys can really help you with that story. And through ATA, they've helped us massively, and we trust these guys dearly, and we feel like they're the best in the business. So they could add a lot of value to your marketing and advertising needs. Did that start changing for you? Is that at a certain age where you feel like you started to get that kind of fearless nature that you had growing up again?
Yeah, I think being fearless and hungry. I think once I got my pro ranking and I started traveling for myself and stuff, like I just became like so hungry to prove myself. And I was less caring about like the projected timeline of making it. Because like for my uncles and stuff, they were established players at like 20, 21, but then like retiring at like 26, 27. Like, so it's just changed so much. So yeah, I'd say just that. I just got like hunger and fearlessness back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do it so much later now. I mean, just an example with Karatsev. I think he was outside the top 100 his whole life.
He's the poster boy for that.
Yeah, and then 28, 29, I reckon it was. He had that breakthrough Aussie summer when he made the semi-final of the Australian Open, got his ranking, I think, inside the top 30. And just had a full crack at all tournaments throughout the year. And
the big stage.
Yeah, then you just get a free shot. You get so much finance behind you, then you can just keep giving it another really good crack for the next years ahead and not stress too much. Is that what you're thinking about? Like where, I know I'm diving in a little bit deeper here pretty early, but where...
Getting heavy quick.
Yeah. I want to get stuck into just figure out like, is that the way you're thinking at your age? Like I think we're both similar age, 28, 29. What are you thinking towards getting to that next step?
Yeah, so it's kind of like the benchmark, or the next benchmark for me is kind of getting into Grand Slam qualies.
Yeah.
That's when the money gets a little better. You rock up and you're getting 25 to 30 grand. So then like if you play all 4 slams, like it starts going up to like 90K. And then, you're playing some challies, ACOM's covered. You can play a bit of club tennis in Europe because, you're a top 250. So they want to pay and you can get like €1,000 to €2,000 a weekend. All of a sudden, like Grad said, opportunities arise, and money becomes a bit more accessible. Scheduling gets a little easier, a little nicer. So for me, I'm sitting at 385 or something. So yeah, I'm just trying so hard to get to inside 250, and I'm having a big crack at trying to get to US Open qualies.
Yeah,
that's my next kind of goal.
I mean, yeah, 384, 385 on paper, and to people in the tennis community, that is an incredible tennis player, but to the wider community, that is a nobody.
To the average man, it's a nobody.
No one knows. No one knows who you are. And it's really sad that it's like that, because there's so many amazing players between 300, 400, 500.
Yeah, it's a scary level.
Yeah, the level is insane. Like if someone just came to watch that level, they would absolutely love what they saw. And they'll probably see a lot of hunger and fire and fight, more than what you would actually see in the top 100 sometimes.
Yeah, you see some proper hungry guys who are just outside 250.
So I guess what I want to ask is, you don't have so much to show for yourself at this point of the journey financially, but what has this journey really done for you? Where has it taken you? Do you have some amazing memories that really stand out, some experiences that you will never forget? Are there some on the top of your head that you can just recall that you'll always remember from the journey you've had so far?
It's been a crazy journey. I've really been on the tour for about 8 years now. I mean, you meet some amazing people to do with tennis, like just massive hearts who just love the sport, and they'll do anything for you housing wise. I've got a friend of mine in Germany. Her name's Babsy. She just the biggest heart, will look after anyone, and like she just loves tennis. Like she has a few of us where she'll have like a laptop here, TV here, like TV up there, phone there, watching like 4 players play at the same time. Like she just loves it. Anytime I'm in Europe, like I stop in at hers. Trying to think of like moments on the tour. I mean, you just go to some amazing places.
Any massive matches that stand out?
I mean, top of my head, like the Swan Hill match against Saville in the final.
That was earlier this year where you won the title, right?
Yeah, that was an absolute battle, and he'd beaten me a few times in a row. So it was like, getting a title, having a massive battle on the grass, playing a guy who's like so adept on the grass. And so that was a battle. And then I even played Omar before, really good friend of mine, and like just
love Omar, man.
Yeah, a legend of a guy.
Such a good dude.
Like even after that, like we had a massive battle, like just could have gone anyway. And then, he wasn't obviously too happy that he lost, like pretty angry. And then after it, we're just like sitting in the clubhouse, just chatting, like nothing's happened. And people were like walking around like so unsure, like aren't these guys like, they've just gone at each other's throats before. It's like, in the end, like I'd be stoked if he won, he's stoked if I won, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's really like that.
A bit of brotherhood. Yeah,
especially at the ITF level in the travelling circus of Australia, of all the guys that just float around and play. It is just hunger and desire and blood out on court. But after, it's you guys are all just good mates and respect each other for the journey.
You respect the grind.
Yeah,
you're going through the same journey. It's a grind.
Respect the grind is such a good way to put it. It is literally the biggest hustle, that circuit.
It's nuts. You have to do it's a crazy like soul trader. Like you're doing so much. Like it's not just the guy on the tennis court, and we all go through it. Like you're hustling, like accommodation, flights, like dealing with people overseas. Like you just go through everything. But we experience all pretty similar things on the tour.
Yeah. Can you break that down and go into it a little bit more? Like what sort of things are you all dealing with in terms of how to navigate the accommodation, the flights, how you fund all of that? Is it really just building the connections that you can just save as much cash as you can along the way? Or how do you navigate kind of the scheduling and going here and managing all of the costs and expenses along the way?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even right now I'm planning like my trip. I leave... I'm playing this Adelaide tournament next week, the main event, and then I'm home for like 4 days, and then I'm flying to Guam to play a 15K future. Just as my probably not the tournament to play with my ranking, but just as a first tournament in a while I'll play. So like I'm dealing with, I got to fly to Korea, a layover, fly to Guam, and then I've got to book the accommodation through booking.com. Look, and then I'm asking guys, like I booked one place that has 4 beds. I've got 2 guys who are with me, and I'm like messaging people like, oh, do you want to fill the 4th bed? Like, let's cut some costs. Like, do you guys want to share a car? And then one of my mates is like, he's in London right now, and he's like, oh, I'm flying to Japan. Not sure if I'm going to come to Guam. I'm 50-50. Don't book me in the bed. I'm like, well, it's there if you want it. It's just like the schedules are like, it's so hard to get a tennis player to confirm their schedule. It's nuts.
Full-time tennis coach, part-time Airbnb host, this guy.
Yeah. My Airbnb rating's off the charts, 5 stars.
Yeah, there's a future for you there after the tour, man.
Seriously, no. And then having to do all my finances, like, you know, every year, like I go through my complete breakdown of my expenses, like income, outcome, all that stuff, just so I know. Yeah, so like, yeah, I did that last year, and it actually kind of hurt looking at it because I think I spent $22,000 on flights last year alone.
Wow.
Yeah, you look at it, you're like, wow, you know, like I tell people like, oh, you must be doing pretty well with your ranking, like money wise. I tell them like, I'm actually the highest ranked I've ever been in my life, but I'm the poorest I've ever been. Like it makes no sense to me, but the more people I talk to, they're like, yeah, the higher you get, the more money you spend.
I think that's a really important point to dive into, to actually give people, the outside community, an actual breakdown of how that looks cost wise. So for someone at your level, 384 in the world, how much have you spent last year? What are the breakdown? You said $22,000 on flights, but how much are you spending on just accommodation, food, if you can track that, coaching, transport to and from courts? What does that actually look like?
Yeah, I got like the full pie chart and everything on my laptop. Yeah, I mean, it's got everything. Like you got, tennis only orders. You're doing shoes and string and whatnot, and then you've got accommodation, you've got flights, you've got restringing. There's so much that goes into tennis, and like I'm trying to be so savvy, like with housing, and like I'll sleep on a floor. Like I don't care. Like if I save $20 a night, I'm sleeping on a floor. Like the hustle. But yeah, I did like my full expense. I tell people like a couple of guys, KDV, who like want to go pro, and like I'm just giving them an idea. Like last year I think I made like 62K, and my expenses were 75.
Wow.
And like I had a pretty decent end of year. And even now, like I've done pretty well at the start of the year, but like I'm still chasing debt. And like, Westpac's knocking at my door. No, not really, but but yeah, like keeping my payments up with Westpac. Yeah, it's tough. Like I don't think people really realize like that 250 to 500 guys are so talented, but the money just sucks.
Yeah, it's full on. I really respect the fact that you actually record all of that, because I feel like a lot of tennis players suck at that stuff, to actually keep track of their finances, understand the numbers, know where they're putting their energy, what's coming back their way. So I think that's awesome that you're doing that.
Yeah, I've done it for a few years.
Yeah, I was going to ask how long and why did that start?
Probably for about 5 years. My granddad was super like meticulous in making sure that I knew what was coming in and out.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you're a business. Like it's like you're your own personal business. Like be in charge of it, keep everything in order. And like he would like every 6 months he'd be like, let me see it. So I never missed it. And it's just a habit that's it's kept going, and I take a lot of pride in, keeping my stuff in order and knowing when the expenses come.
That's life skills that are going to help you forever after.
Yeah.
And wherever this leads.
The life skills from the tennis and the tour. Yeah, it's, meeting new people, walks of life, trying to bargain like deals, I mean, the life skills, you meet a lot of guys who are super street smart from the tennis tour.
Yeah, definitely 100%. What's touching on life skills, what do you feel like you've really learnt from this 8-year journey on the pro tour? What really stands out as just key lessons or key things that have really changed in your life from just doing this for the last 8 years?
I think, dealing with people, all walks of life, the common fan, the gambler who messages you and says you suck after you lose, the little kids that look up to you and want to have autographs, and Yeah, like, everything negative, positive, sharing space with complete strangers sometimes. I've gone to a tournament and I look through the list and I just ask everyone the list, like Swedish, German, Chinese, whatever. I'm like, dude, let's share a room. And then like, I meet them that day and it's like, yeah, let's share this like tiny hotel room for a week. I have no idea who you are, but let's get to know each other. So like, yeah, I feel like I can, from the tennis tour, like you can throw me in any room and I'll be comfortable.
Yeah.
Because you have to be. Otherwise you just won't survive.
100%. That would have taught you so much just to communicate and understand so many different people. And yeah, like you said, just help you absolutely be comfortable no matter what.
Yeah, just being comfortable in any situation really, because you get thrown in some pretty crazy situations.
Yeah, that's I think that's almost like a lost art. A lot of people struggle in today's day and age doing that sort of stuff and will just turn to the phone and just the comfort, the creature comfort habits.
TikTok, Instagram, it's easy just to zone out and be in a safe space. Yeah,
rather than kind of face and put yourself in situations where you have to be vulnerable, you have to meet new people, you have to kind of like hustle in that way. Yeah, I think that's that is a really important skill that would have taught you heaps.
Yeah.
I want to dive into, I guess, has there been some really critical, important people, obviously like your key family who have all been playing on the tour, but are there other people that have helped you along the way on this journey?
Yeah, I think, family is like massive for me for sure. And I was very scared to reach out to my family. I had a lot of security in my family. But it's funny you mentioned before, a guy was going to come on one of your podcasts later, Alex Hines. Yeah. He was actually really important to me because I was training in the National Academy, but the National Academy has like they have guys they look after, which is fair enough. Like guys are doing well and all that, and I was able to train there, but you're kind of a guy who just trains in the corner. And Heinzie moved to KDV Tennis Academy on the Gold Coast, which I'm based at now. He reached out to me. He said, "Tom, like you're a great player and this and that. Like I think there's a real chance for you to come to KDV and." We'll look after you and give you a base that will make you one of our guys. And that move to KDV was massive for me. So top of my head, Alex Hines. And
how long ago was that?
I would have been like 21 or 22, so like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been KDV 6 years now.
I heard so many good things about KDV.
Yeah, it's unreal base.
Yeah.
Got Kubler and I there. Loving it.
Because the setup is just incredible, right? You got all of the hard courts, you got the clay courts, you got the like massive cafe gym area.
Yeah,
honestly,
is
it like the best facility in Australia?
I mean, I don't know about Australia. Like there's Next Gen here, and there's Canberra and Melbourne. But I mean, on the Gold Coast, like it's just unbelievable. And like I love playing golf as well. So between like trainings, I'm jumping on the driving range or playing a quick 9. So like the base is just phenomenal. World class gym, cafe, like 19 hard courts, which usually always I'll get 1 court. And then you got 4 clay courts as well. It's just, I can't believe it's not bigger than what it actually is.
Yeah.
Because the facility wise, unbelievable.
Yeah. What's happening there? Like, is it run by a private organization? Is there like a business model in place? Is there a lot of growth happening in the last years? Is it like a massive coaching team? How does it work? Yeah,
well, it's getting bigger now. Ever since I feel like they hired Jared Bunt or Bunty as the head coach. Like, I mean, his credentials are crazy. And he was a guy that I always saw at the National Academy. He was with Rinky and, he was always around those guys who were just doing so well. So obviously well coached. And I kind of told Kubler about coming to KDV, and then like Bunty signed the deal as a head coach, and then they were like just a fit straight away. So like ever since, I mean, Kubler's like doing so well. So he's like KDV's guy. So I mean, he's there, and I think he's bringing a lot more guys. So I feel like, and they have such a good kids program as well, run by Ryan Kebblewhite. So yeah, I feel like it's getting bigger and bigger, and I'm like, I haven't been there for a couple of years. Like it's cool to see.
That's sick. Yeah, I definitely want to head there. Just check it out.
Yeah, got to be. First stop on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, love it. Has there been some really hard times that stand out to you? Times when maybe you thought about packing it up, times when you thought about maybe doing something different?
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely burnt out a few times on the road. I struggle being away from home a lot. I love my family, and everyone at like Gold Coast, Brisbane area. So I struggled being away for a while. And then, when you're overseas financially, you start bleeding money. It's like, why am I here? You get a few losses. Like, guys are so good overseas. There's so many good players. Like to do well week in, week out, it's mentally tough. Dealing with like mental health issues, like not like that drastic, but just burnout. Like I literally before I started with my coach last year, I was definitely thinking about hanging him up because I was just going through the same pattern each year and like, just doing the same thing and ending up like 500, 600, not beating the guys top 300. And I was just kind of like, I mean, am I just in like a rat race where it's like a never ending? And I'm going to be like 32 with $0 in my bank account. So yeah, I had a real sit down, and then the guy I'm working with, Blazo, he was like, "Nah, I believe in you. Like, let's have a proper crack." And then, so yeah, I'd say last year was like a real time where I was like,
yeah, real turning point for
definitely
you.
a turning point
where you just basically got to have a hard look in the mirror and just go, if we do this, we're going to do this absolutely properly with the best planning, the best process.
Leaving no stone unturned.
Yeah, and full commitment. Because is it basically like you don't want to look back and go, I didn't give it my full crack?
For sure, yeah. It was actually, I was watching that Marty Fish doco.
Yeah, incredible.
I watched that one. That one, like, that hit home. Like, obviously, like, he was like 110 at the time when he decided to like have a full crack, but just that idea of, like, shit, like, I want to give it 100%. And then if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Like, a lot of guys don't make it. But like, I can close the chapter and be like, look, I gave it everything. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, mad respect. How's your game changed? What have you changed in your approach or your fitness sessions or what you're doing on and off the court since you've really said, nah, I'm going 100% here. I'm giving it a full crack.
Yeah, I think consistently just, hitting the gym, doing the extras, and in like investing in myself. I was always, trying to save dollars. So I was taking shortcuts on things. And, one of my friends was traveling with those Normatec boots, those compression sleeves.
Yeah.
And even in Kubler was as well. And I was like, oh, dude, how much do those cost? And he's like, oh, $1,600. I was like, are they worth it? And he's like, the best thing ever. Make your legs feel so fresh. So I was like, done. Bought them. Luckily got them on discount. Savvy. And then, I just like doing those little extras. Like every night I'm in the Normatec boots and I just feel like not skipping corners, doing the extras, Blazo just always keeps me in check. Like, but then also by doing that, like I feel like I'm also being consistent without him having to remind me. And consistency, just being disciplined.
How long has that been now? Have you been really kind of committing in that way?
I'd say since like July last year.
Okay. So
and the results have just shown.
Yeah, almost a year. I was going to say, like, are you clearly, tangibly seeing the difference in results? Like, how do you feel? How do you feel different in terms of mindset, in terms of how you're actually performing on court, how you're striking, how you're moving?
Yeah, I remember like Blazo sat down with me and we looked at my 3-set record, and it was pretty terrible. So we're changing that, like mentality wise and fitness wise, because like I'd get to like semis of futures and stuff, and I wouldn't lose because the guy was better or something like that. I would lose because I'd have no legs. I would be so shattered, and I'd just be like a shell of myself, and I would have these opportunities, but I wouldn't be able to take advantage of it because I had no legs. So just building an engine. And like now I think like this year, I think I've won like 13 from 14 3-setters.
That's sick.
Like,
what a turnaround.
Massive turnaround. Like, and like I feel like my legs are stronger underneath me, and mentally wise, it's just like.
Just knowing you can do it.
Yeah, knowing I can do it.
Yourself in.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and now when it gets to a 3-setter, I'm like, I'm not losing.
Yeah.
Or if I lose, like you're going to have to play so good to beat me in the 3rd set.
Yeah, that's really important, because then before you would have just almost had that flicker of doubt, knowing that you know deep down that you hadn't done the work and you can't get the job done in those circumstances.
Yeah, you can't bullshit yourself. Like, you know if you've done the work. I can tell you that I run hill sprints every day, and you're like, oh, that's cool, man. But I can't like bullshit myself So when I got these 3 setters and I knew I didn't have the legs underneath me and I had to rely on like no jump serving and just trying to like rotate my shoulder, and any forehand I just tried to slap a winner because I knew I couldn't last 3 shots. Now I'm like, let's extend it. Let's extend these rallies. Like I've got the legs, let's go. It's mentally
really loving that grind and loving being in that place.
Which if you ask anyone who knows me well, like they'd be like, that wasn't Tom in his young 20s. But now it's like I want the fight.
Yeah, I love what I'm hearing. Obviously, at the top level, the guys are serving massive. They're dropping bombs. There's just their ability to strike massive is the clear difference between what you're seeing at that level and then the ITF, for example. So are you making any tweaks in your game to play more aggressive or change any shots to get to that kind of next bridge, that next caliber to be on the Challenger circuit? Is there any kind of differences you're doing to prepare for that, I guess, getting towards the top 100?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like modern tennis is, big serve, big forehand. So always trying to develop the serve and forehand, strategically serving to where I can get more forehands and just, being that aggressive mindset of always trying to hunt forehands, trying to stay out of the backhand corner. And then also, a bit of creativity, like, I have a one-hander and I've always wanted to have one of the best slice backhands in the world. And that's been something that, every day I'm practicing my slice backhand because, you look at guys like Dan Evans, that dude, like, people are like, oh, he's just a slice backhand. It's like, yeah, the guy's like 25 in the world. People are like so quick to be like, all he's got is a slice backhand. He's like, well, he's beaten Jocko.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's been there for a long time, quite a while now.
Yeah, yeah. I always got that growing up. Like, oh, I just got a slice backhand. He did Tom's backhand. Like, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with an elite slice backhand.
Exactly. It's slept on. Slice backhand. Slice backhand slept on.
Oh, that's fantastic. Are there other things you're working on in your game in particular to really, I guess, go to that next level? Is there anything on mindset? Is there a kind of like a mentality that you're really trying to tap into every single time you step out on court?
Definitely. It's just trying to like bulletproof the pre-match routine, whether it be, like one thing that I've really changed in the last year is I always journal before matches. Something that I've got from a few players and listened to a few like successful successful people on podcasts is just just journaling, just getting just a brain dump. And like whether it be, you're having anything, like maybe there's some stuff going on in the background of your life, because it all comes to the forefront when you're under a bit of stress and pressure in matches. Like if you've had a fight with your girlfriend or something like that comes to the front of your brain. Ask like any tennis player. I mean, you would know, like it under pressure, it all boils up. And I just feel like when I've started journaling and being really consistent with it, it just doesn't come up as much. It's almost,
you can lock into your match so much more.
Yeah, it's just tennis.
You're letting those thoughts and emotions out a little bit more.
For sure.
In your day-to-day.
So yeah, so to answer your question, that'd probably be it.
Okay, yeah,
just, finding ways to, I feel like it's, the whole thing about tennis is all mental, like 90% mental. I used to think that was like BS. Like I was like, nah, this guy's got a big forehand or a big serve. But the more I'm around these really good guys, it's mentality wise. It's just finding the serve you like under pressure. Like even like, Deem and I always talked about, like breathing at change of ends. Like he like with this guy talking about breathing. And I was like, that makes no sense to me. But the more I looked into what works for me and all that kind of stuff, it just makes so much sense. Finding what mental cue works for you to like ground you. Yeah,
that's really important. That's what I was going to tap into next is what sort of mental zone do you prefer to be in when you're actually playing? I mean, of course, there's variances in that. So, for example, for myself, I feel like I'm a pretty high energy, intense guy, and I like to lock in with just immense focus and just be in that zone of next point every single time, show up mentally, physically, 100% for every single point, one at a time, as many as I can in a row. and just get myself in that zone with just the highest energy movement I can bring to every point. And that I feel like really helps me lock in to be as present as I can be. Is there some sort of zone that you feel like works for you majority of the time when you're playing?
Yeah, I saw you playing the other day. Energy through the roof. I was admiring it. It was like
That's all I got, man.
I kept looking over my shoulder and I was like, unreal, just energize a bunny.
I'd be perfect for the ITF tour, man. So much hustle and grind.
Oh, legit. Everyone will be coming to watch. Just respecting the grind. I've spaced out what the question was.
What mental zone
do
you really like to be in as a player? What works for you?
I'd say I was probably more calm. I think I like to try and be calm because I feel like my emotions can boil over sometimes, been an issue in the past. So I listened to this golf podcast about these two instructors who coach like the world number one girl at the time. And they talked about when she went to hit her shot, they create like an imaginary box, and it's like stepping into your swing box because she didn't like to concentrate all the time. But when she got to a swing box, she'd step in and it was like total concentration for 10 seconds. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I'm going to try that. Like, what's the most important shot in tennis? I was like, the serve. So like the next day, like I always try and serve like half an hour a day at targets. And I've come out and I've got like a bit of tape. And I've done a tape, like a serve box. I was like, wait, what are you doing? I was like, let me do it. And then, so I like to kind of like, either listen to a song in my head or I look around. But then as soon as I stepped into the serve box, I like take a breath. And it's like, all right, serve box. And it just clicked like straight away for me. And then I was like, wow, like I'm going to do this in matches for sure. So when I'm playing, like, I'll be looking around like this year I was like playing in New Caledonia and I was playing next to Benoit Paire in a French country and they're going ballistic, like so much noise going around. And it's hard not to get caught up in it, like looking around. And then, so I'm getting caught up in it, looking around, and then it's like 30 all. I step up and I just see an imaginary box. And it's like, I don't know, it's just like total calm. I've obviously done it in practice and now I'm doing the matches and it's just like serve box. And then even like when I was playing doubles with my good friend like Jeremy Beale, if my serve went off, he'd be like, dude, serve box. I'm like, you're so right. And that was like my mental grounding.
Yeah. No, I think you need cues to bring you back into that zone. And like you said, everyone's different and you got to find what works for you. Yeah. But you just need almost like in the movie Inception where you have like the spinner to know whether you're in a dream or not. Like
legit, like change of hands, get a little spinner out.
Am I dreaming? Am I alive right now? But you literally have that cue to kind of get you in that zone that kind of snaps you into that spot straight away.
I think so, for sure.
Are there any other things? No, what I was going to say is, how important is it to pump yourself up? Where are you at with that sort of zone? Are you kind of more internal, external, with kind of ripping the commands or fist pumps? And do you think that's imperative as a player?
For me personally, like I'm not like the come on your face kind of guy.
Yeah,
I don't really like that. But like if I'm like pumped, I want to release some tension, like in a break or something. Like I'll rip a big mind, but like to myself. Mm-hmm. Like then I'll be looking at myself when I do it. But yeah, some guys love the old fist pump in the face and getting in guys' faces. But I always feel like some guys like they fire up when you do that. It's almost like you're stoking their fire. So I'm always like I'm playing for me. Like I want to fire myself up. So I like kind of even when like if I win matches and stuff, like I'm just like I might look at my team or like a mate who's watching me or something. But like in the end, like I've played the match. I'm just like it's like relief for me. Like well done, Tom.
Yeah. Do you think it's really important whether you do it just to yourself or is it necessary, do you think, for every player to really have that fire and do it in their own way?
I think so, for sure. Yeah. It's too tough otherwise.
I just don't see how you're going to be able to withstand the journey if you're not really having that intrinsic motivation from within. It's too hard. It's too long. It's too grueling.
It's way too tough if you don't have a fire burning in you.
Because even like I was watching you one of the first matches of the first week of this tournament and you were still giving yourself fist pumps, which would be like normally like quite an easy match for you. And I saw that and I was like, wow, that's sick. Like I really respect the fact that you're this guy playing this tournament and a class above the field and you're still first round just playing some local guy.
Yeah.
Just like throwing a real fist pump just to yourself to keep yourself on track. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of juniors that could learn from that. Because I feel like so many people are so embarrassed.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. They're embarrassed to like show emotion if they're playing a guy who's maybe not at their level.
Because I think if you're seeing that as a guy that's, I guess, younger and less experienced, and if I'm in my shoes playing you and I see that, I'm like, my goodness, this guy is like, he's not going to give me anything today. He's already a class above me and he's not going to give me anything. It's like, wow, it's going to be so tough for me today to do anything.
I think it's also like it's a respect thing. Like that match I played first round, I can't remember the guy's name, but like I treated him like I treated my match against Garen this year. Like I played Garen as like 60 in the world or something.
Yeah, wow.
I treated that match like I treated that match. Like I was, I'm just going to respect you, whoever you are. I'm going to try my ass off to beat you. And yeah, just respecting every tennis player on the tennis court and just treating, like I'm coming like to later and later into my career. So every match I get, like I'm kind of appreciating it. Because I'm not going to have too many cracks from here. Like I'm on the back end. So I'm just respecting the battle every time.
Yeah, I think that's really important because I think people get too up in their high horse thinking like I should be this person or that person I shouldn't beat, and they put almost like a ceiling or
yeah, for sure.
Or maybe get complacent against players. I think if you have that mentality, I don't think you have the bad losses as much where you have a shocker. You maybe have days that aren't as good, but I don't think you really lose it against guys like that maybe are a little bit drop under your level.
I think it's a junior thing. Like, it's one thing winning, but then it's another thing like looking cool, like you don't care that you're winning. So like maybe the young girl who's watching you is like thinks you're cool. Your three mates who are laughing in the corner think it's cool that you're like hitting tweeners when you're up 6-love, 4-love, or serving underarm serves. I just think it's bad look.
Yeah, I think so. I completely agree. So you spoke about Garen. What was that match like, and were there some other matches you played against high-profile players in your career?
Yeah, so I think the three like highest ranked guys I played in a pro match would be I think I played Garen this year. I played like Nishioka. I played Montiero at the 250 in Melbourne before AO. I got in as an alternate there. Played on Margaret Court Arena, which was pretty cool. Just an absolute brutal lefty to play. Just brutal. I've never hit so many backhands in my life in a match. Obviously like training with Coobs, who's top 100. And I'm the better and better I'm getting ranking wise, just the more exposure I have to these guys. So I'm playing them more in practice and I'm hungry for some scalps. Like I don't think I've really gotten a top 100 scalp in a pro match. So I'm hungry for that as like a next like bucket list thing.
Yeah, I rate that. What separates you from those guys, do you think, at this point?
I think it's just week in, week out competing. I think I'm getting better, but I'm still off the mark. Those guys are just like the professionalism is crazy. And they're always practicing. They're always doing the extras. They're always in the physio. Like that's the difference between futures and challengers and ATPs. Like those guys are just always looking to maximize their potential. And every week they're pretty hungry, especially in the Challenger Tour.
Yeah, it is a bit of a jump. Like Lee, I'm sure you know quite well now.
Tour, yeah.
Good friend of ours. He has made the jump from ITF to the Challenger circuit and killed it. Killed the ITF circuit.
Yeah, he's a class above.
Yeah, destroyed it. And even when he's gone back down to the futures, he's destroyed again. But he's just kind of, I guess, finding it a little bit challenging to really establish himself at that challenger level. What would you say the difference is at that ITF level? What seems to be the thing that's making it maybe hard for Tui to really establish himself at that level?
I mean, I was with him for a week or two recently when I went to Europe, and I don't know, man. I think he's not a guy that he's exhausting every option. It looks like he's traveling with a coach, He's always in the gym. He's always practicing. I think it's going to come. I think his level's there, and he's got the work ethic, and he's willing to be away from home, which is massive. Like, he's willing to just grind week in, week out. And like, it's crazy to see. Like, he lost a few matches in a row, and I saw him in France, and you couldn't tell. Like, you couldn't tell that guy was on a couple of match losing streak. He was just out there hungry to train. So I think
that's great.
And also he's got me a few times in a row now, which is annoying, doing my head in a little bit. But I think I'm definitely trying to follow the path that he's taken. Winning a challenger last year. So I think the jump will come.
Yeah. What seems to be the key difference though at a challenger level across the board? Are these guys just like more physical specimens, just so much more stronger mentally?
Definitely physicality wise is the difference.
I was going to say, because there's a bunch of guys on the ITF tour that they look strong, but the athletes at the challenger level look legit.
Yeah. Physicality, I think, is the first thing that comes to mind. Like, these guys are, if they win a match pretty easy, they're straight in the gym and they're straight training. Whereas guys in the futures, like, they're chilling by the pool. Like, I was in Jakarta last year, and these guys win like 6-3, 6-4, and they're just by the pool, like FaceTiming their girlfriend or something like that. But in challenges, like, they win 6-2, 6-3, like, they go to their coach, go on, book a court, let's go out and practice. And I remember I even playing like Nishioka at a challenger, and he beat me like 7-6, 6-4. Like, it was a bit of a grind, and I was pretty gassed. And his coach just points the court, basket of balls, and he just did his coach just sliced backhands for an hour because he just didn't handle my slice as well as the coach wanted him to. So he's gone straight to court 18, and his coach is just like barking at him in Japanese.
But you do have the best slice backhand in the world, remember?
Self-proclaimed best slice backhand in Australia. It's self-proclaimed.
Oh, how would you describe the Futures Tour? Can you give the viewers a snapshot of what it's like to the outside?
It's an absolute circus. Like, the guys you meet, and then the people involved in the tournaments, like, it's
a real journeyman mentality of like you're a backpacker, you're a traveler.
Pretty much, yeah. You're like a backpacker. Like, you just sometimes you can't even train at courts, and then the people you meet are just like they're just basically tourists. They're just there because they're too scared to like start their next day job or something, and they're just like in this bubble where they think they can make it. And they're just being like pests, or there's these guys who are just trying to pick up every week and just trying to pick up European chicks. Like, it's a circus. And then you can see guys who it's easy to tell in futures, guys who are going to push on from futures. You can just tell. That's what my uncle has always told me. They'll like avoid the tourists. They're obvious. Like, you're going to see all these guys who are just tourists. They're here. If they make a semi, they're stoked. Like, you shouldn't be like that. And I was pretty aware of that early, and I was like, yeah, I can see the tourists, the guys who are just there for some fun stories. And then the guys who like have their head down, and they're just like, they go on the stringer, they're getting the restrings done, they're training, they're leaving, they're doing their band stuff, like they're in the gym. You can just tell the guys who are going to push on. So yeah, it's just.
Has it been some examples that you've seen along your journey of people who've gone through that process you knew straight away, and then they've gone on to do big things?
I mean, Tui's a guy. Yeah. Like, when he came on the futures, you could just see he wasn't going to be there too long. Just like Jasika when he came back from his time off. Coobs. And then just seeing guys, some certain players overseas. I remember seeing like Mackenzie McDonald. I was like, he's going to be different. And in juniors, I remember seeing like Francis Tiafo at like a Mexican junior tournament, and my uncle was like trying to scout a doubles partner, and he was like, that guy. And I was like, I don't know, go ask him. And I went up and asked him. He was like, yeah, let's play. And then he didn't. I think he ended up. His coach told him to play with someone else, or I don't know what happened, and then it ended up being like Tiafo, and I was like, that's a good call from you, Charlie. that's a good call.
Your uncle knows what's up.
Yeah. I guess he's been around a while.
Yeah. I guess I want to start tapping into some advice that you would give. I think it's really important to give advice for people wanting to, I guess, embark on a pro journey, how you would tackle it, how you would actually navigate the ITF tour, so you can actually have a chance to get to the starting line, because people think the starting line is the ITF tour, and that's still not even close to the starting line.
No.
So would you give any advice, let's just say, to teenagers that are maybe like 15, really like loving their tennis, hungry, the level's starting to get raised a lot? How would you go about it from like 15, 16, 17 onwards?
I think you have to develop a work ethic for sure, and like consistently be disciplined in your approach to tennis, being around the right people, because you can fall into groups where you get steered away to it's cool not to train, and then you gotta make yourself an athlete. Like I feel like I approached being an athlete really late. Like my family is really focused on technique, because my uncle thought that's what let him down from not being. He thought should have been top 10. I mean, he beat Lendl at Wimbledon, so he always tells me about that. He said, if I had a more technically better, like my serve was more technically better, or my forehand was technically better, I would have been top 10 because my work ethic was there. So I think, so that's what like my focus was on. But I think if I was a better athlete earlier, that would have helped. Just doing the plyometric stuff, building strong legs. It's just so important. And then like general tennis, like you got to have a weapon, either it be a bomb, massive forey. Like you got to have something that's your game style. Like you look at all these guys in the top 100, like they don't all play the same. Like they've got distinct stuff where you're like, oh, like that guy's got this or that guy's got that. So I think developing your weapons, being solid. And then also like just being good with other tennis players, developing good relationships, because you're going to have to train, you're going to have to travel, and like you need guys who don't think you're a tosser, really. Because when you're in places and you need to train, like a lot of guys will say no. So building relationships is pretty important too.
Yeah, some sick stuff there. Building the athleticism has become so much more important now. You can see just the athleticism in the game has gone through the roof in the last,
crazy,
I'd say 10 years, 5-10 years. It's you got to be an absolute specimen, and if you're not naturally one, you got to try to become one earlier and earlier now. And that then ties into creating a bomb, because if you're a specimen, then you can hit huge off one side, particularly the forehand. So what are your goals? What are your goals, and where are you heading? And do you have any markers in what you're really striving for in the next 1 to 2 years?
A goal this year was I want to try and finish the year inside like 250. That'd be a massive goal. I'd like to play the Aussie Open direct, would be awesome in qualies. I also sent coach and I set a goal to try and get 50 wins in a season. I think last year I ended up getting like 33 or 34 or something. And like, I think we looked at the guys who got over 50 wins are inside 300. So like every win, I'm messaging him after the match. I'm like, that's 14 or that's 15. Nice.
Is that at all levels? Like, do you count this week, for example?
No, just professionally.
Okay,
just on the Pro Tour one. I mean, I count it as a win, but
yes,
for the tally, it's just pro wins. So yeah, like, I mean, you don't want to get too hung up on rankings. So I kind of like the whole 50 wins as like my main goal. Like I just want, every time I go out there, I want to win, so I can just chalk it up to the tally, and then the ranking will just come with it for sure.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. We just started doing that at our club, getting the kids to get tally board of how many matches they've played first of all.
So important.
And just have a marker of you need to play 50 matches by the end of the year, or a certain amount of matches before the end of the year, and keep tally of how many you're winning, how many you're losing, only singles count. And just getting out, and we're even counting practice matches. If you play only 2, it has to be a minimum of 2 sets.
You got to count it all. Yeah.
And just, getting those matches in, because that's what separates so many people, just having that experience and playing a whole bunch of matches. So what's the plan to get to those goals? What do you really, I mean, you've touched on it throughout this conversation, but is it mainly physicality and just that becoming an absolute beast in that way?
It's just every week, like holding myself accountable and doing the stuff that not having too many off days, and just, like the mindset of, what would a top 100 guy do? And like, I feel like when I'm sitting in front of the TV and I'm checking out, I'm like, would a top 100 guy be doing this? And then I start stretching, or I start listening to a podcast or something. Maybe this next episode. Because just being around Kubler at KTV, like there's no magic dust. There's no special pill or something. Like he clocks in, gym, trains, eats well. He's always talking to his coach. Like he just goes about his business, and like he's 60 in the world. So like just to see him like behind the scenes, like there's no pixie dust.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about this all the time. There's no magic pill. It's literally the consistency in that work day in, day out over the long period of time that gets you really somewhere that you want to go. And seeing Kubler firsthand would have just given you so much faith to go, hang on a minute. Like I'm training with him. I'm there with him all the time. If he's doing that, then I could do that too.
For sure. Yeah. Like it's, people are like, oh, do you get like jealous of like Coobs because you guys are KTV? I was like, no, I love what he's doing. Like he's such a good dude. Like all his success, like I'm pumped for him. But also I'm like, I could do it. Like, we're slogging around training, we're playing practice sets all the time. I'm like, I'm not far off the level. And this guy's beaten top 10 players and stuff. I'm like, and then he goes to me, he's like, I can't read your freaking serve. Like serves one of the best serves I've ever faced. And like for me, I'm like, wow, I'm on the right track.
Yeah. That's awesome. So before we close up, I want to know a little bit more of what's your day looking like now to get to that goal, to be on that level that Coob is right now.
You mean like kind of on the road or at home?
Yeah, just in general, both on the road, at home. Like how would you structure your day to train to get towards that level?
Well, for sure, you gotta get on court. I don't really train like 4 or 5 hours a day. I kind of more into quality over quantity. And also Coobs with like kind of his injuries, like he's not too crazy as well with training too much. So it's just like kind of making sure the quality is always good. I remember like doing stuff with like Pat Rafter and like Ben Mathias, who was Grothy's coach. And it was just like, I was like, what do you think about when you're training and stuff with those guys? And it was just like, picking something to really work on in the training session and like really emphasizing it and making sure that like that whole hour or 2 hours, hour and a half, like you really worked hard towards making that better. Where it's just like hitting a forehand volley, like just one shot. So it's just, like that kind of stuff. And then being consistent with my recovery, being in the Normatec boots, stretching for like 20, 30 minutes a night, eating super well. So I'm not getting all my protein in. Like the guys I'm traveling with at the moment, looking after at the AMT, like I'm making them track their food and make sure they eat properly, because these guys like, they have no idea.
It's shambles, man.
Not until they see what they eat and they realize how crap they eat.
Yeah.
I'm like, you expect to be a pro athlete? Like this is like what you put in your body. Like that's so important.
Yeah. And just being dehydrated as well. So many guys don't drink any water.
No, for sure. And that's just professionalism that they don't really understand yet, haven't been exposed to yet. So yeah, I think on court, off court, and then massive into journaling. And then if I have like a light bulb moment on court to do with my serve or forehand or something, like I write it down. I got like a tennis book where I write down all my light bulb moments. So like if I'm overseas and someplace and my backhand's gone off, my backhand line, my kind of backhand line, I can go to like my cheat sheet on my like tennis book and be like, okay, that's what I worked when it was clicking. That's what I was working on. Just that, just being professional, being in charge of your life.
Like a boss.
Yeah.
Like an absolute, it's important, man. You need to absolutely take charge and own it. Because everything I'm hearing, you're giving it a red hot crack. I can feel the intensity and the desire and the commitment that you're bringing from the energy that you're speaking through the words, and just even seeing you firsthand hitting some balls and playing your matches. And I think if you really give it that full process and give it a full crack, and you're taking it like a top 100 professional, like I've said on this podcast before, you got to be pro before you become pro. You got to act like you're pro, and then that process then helps you become pro, or maybe doesn't, but you learn some valuable things along the way.
Well, it's the power of like manifesting. You know, what would a top 100 player do? Like, how do they go about their job, and just manifesting that? Yeah, like you said, you got to act like a pro before you become pro.
Yeah, and just bringing that into your existence every day, and it's just consistency, because guys can do it for a week, month maybe, and then they just fall off, and just being able to show up every single week after week, it's going to take you places, man. And I can see that it's really leading you somewhere, and I hope that you get towards where you want to go. And yeah, we'll hopefully look forward to seeing more of you on the pro tour, man, the real big dog tour and top 100. That'd be an absolute dream come true for you. So thanks for coming out tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Yeah, loved it. And I think it's going to be so great for anyone that plays tournament tennis, or even our juniors that play at our academy, to just listen, and parents just to get a feel for what it's like at this side of the tour, because people, this is the forgotten side of the tour. So I think it's really important messages, and what's required if you do want to get to the pinnacle of this sport, or just anything in your life and career.
I think also, like, just last comment would be also any kids and stuff is, you know, if you've got questions, like, to guys like me who, like, we don't bite, like I'm more than happy, and like all these guys are really good dudes, and, you know, guys who are inside 500 and stuff. If you ask questions and stuff, they will answer, and they will more than happy to talk to you and help you out. I feel like a lot of juniors, like even at, like, when I'm at KTV, like, scared to talk to me.
Who am I to talk to this guy?
Yeah. And then my coach is like, Tom's just like a nice dude. Like, you ask him a question, like, he's going to answer. And so yeah, kids get like so scared to say, like, just.
Yeah, you got to put yourself out there. I think that's a really important point. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. Thanks, absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Love being on. Cheers.